Hi, my little calaveras. Welcome to, or welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hi, hello, I'm Jinx, and if you're returning, thank you. Today's story is called Nora's Nostalgia. It's a story about two sisters that are very different. So if you're ready to hear this creepy tale, sit back, relax, and let's enjoy this story together. My sister Nora had always been a dreamer. When we were kids, she always had ideas for ways we could amuse ourselves. She thought of characters we could be or places we could pretend to visit. Nora never allowed there to be a dull moment. With us having busy parents and no neighborhood kids to play with, this was usually great, but sometimes it could get taxing. She liked the scenarios she thought of to be executed perfectly. "Let's be unicorns," Nora cried one day as we were playing in the backyard on the jungle gym. "I want to have wings and fly," I skipped after her. "No." She crossed her arms and pouted in that disapproving way, even though she was the younger sibling. "We are on a journey to get our wings. Climb down the ladder to leave our house." "Why can't we just use the slide?" "We can only do that when we have our wings. For now, we have to take the ladder. We need to have this adventure, as the unicorns do." Everything had to be just so. Nora always got so swept away in her own imagination, and settling for anything else would be a betrayal to it. When we grew up, Nora decided she wanted to be a writer. But her zealous dedication to her own imagination led to problems in her college creative writing classes. Nora had so many wonderful ideas for novels and poems and even television series, but she couldn't bear criticism. She was always terrified of sharing her writing with others. Whenever she received feedback she didn't like, she felt this fear was justified. In truth, I think there were things she could have worked through. After all, no one is perfect at something when first starting out. Nora just needed more practice and experience. But she always felt that her teachers were aggressively trying to fit her into a mold. "I can't take this," Nora lamented one night as she pored over feedback on a story particularly dear to her. "They can't see what art I'm trying to create. They just don't understand. They can't see it like I do." I felt sad for my sister. I just wanted to see her be happy and successful. I had definitely been her biggest critic when we were two bickering kids. But now she was an adult pursuing her dreams. She had to push through. I tried my best to encourage her, but it was all for naught. I feel guilty saying it, but when she dropped out of college, I felt relieved. Of course, I would have preferred to see her work through her insecurities and continue pursuing her career, but this way she could get a job and be free to pursue her creative interests in her spare time with less pressure. And Nora did get a job in retail. She worked part-time as a cashier at a department store, then got another part-time job when one was not enough to cover the bills. She was never meant for the slog of retail work, but she saw no other future for herself. It was either this or become a famous writer and have her work truly appreciated. There was no value in something in between. Considering her dream lost, Nora abandoned her writing. I tried to be the best big sister I could. Nora and I met for tea once a week, went shopping together, and messaged each other memes. You know, modern, meaningful stuff. It was only a few months ago, shortly before Christmas, I began to notice something strange going on with her. I was over her apartment for tea when it first came up. Usually, we would have plain black tea, but Nora walked in from the kitchen and set down 2 cups of steaming tea that smelled distinctly different. "Oh, what's this?" I asked curiously. "This?" she exclaimed airily. "Is Earl Grey tea. Old Auntie May used to have it all the time, remember?" She stared off into space, and before I could answer, went on. "I do. It makes me think of great Auntie May and the summers we spent at her house before she died. Auntie May died nearly 15 years ago when we were kids. Sure, we missed her, but we had largely moved on. It wasn't like Nora to get all misty-eyed. I thought she must have been having a sad sort of day. I smelled the tea and took a sip. Yeah, I remember. I guess I saw what she was getting at, but honestly, I drank this stuff all the time without a second thought. But cat litter tea for you? Really? I tried to joke. Nora laughed sadly. Yeah, I know. Funny how I used to think of it so poorly, right? I regret it now. I wish we could go back in time for a bit. Have things the way they used to be. Eventually, the topic of the conversation changed, and the faraway look left Nora's eyes. It was far from the last time I'd see her like that. Nora began to get in that strange mood more and more often. A week after the Earl Grey tea, she suggested that we start having Parcheesi nights. I agreed. We loved that game when we were kids. The first few times we played, and Nora got nostalgic. I didn't think much of it. Hell, I was a bit nostalgic for our childhood too. I figured we could get a taste of that now that we were spending more time together. But by the 4th or 5th time we played, Nora was still talking about how we used to be kids and weren't anymore. It was really starting to grate on me. I just wanted to have a good time now. Forget about the drags of adulthood for a bit. But Nora kept sighing and reminiscing over the good old days. What made it worse was Nora deciding that we needed to play on our grandparents' old Parcheesi board. It wasn't good enough that we were playing while drowning in Nora's nostalgia-ridden monologues. No, we had to play on the same dusty, smelly old board our grandparents had. And it didn't end there. Next, she wanted our parents' old photo album, one that was so precious to Mom that she kept it in a glass case. Nora insisted on borrowing it because, as she later told me, "I just want to have a look at it every night, every single night, so I can remember how beautiful things used to be. Our family, I miss it." But Nora, a lot of us are still here. I reassured my sister over the phone that night. We can take a trip to Grandma's. We're still here, but we're not there. I could tell from the breathing that she was about to start to cry. "Nora," Where are you talking about? The past. She said it in a whisper I could barely hear. So much is lost to the past. I lost my patience. Yeah, so? Look, I know it sucks that we're not innocent, cute kids anymore, but Grandma is still here, and she is going to die someday. So before you get all sad about the past, why don't we use the present to spend time with who's still around now? You don't get it, do you? Her voice dripped with disappointment. You're not listening to me. I've done nothing but listen to you lately, Nora. All you do is talk about the past. It's like you're the one who's not even here. She hung up on me. We didn't talk for 2 weeks. That was a long time for us. I wanted to reach out to her, but talking to her any time within those past few weeks felt like talking to a brick wall or a broken record. I didn't want to hear the way that things used to be or places that were anywhere but here. I wanted my sister back. She finally sent me a text. My hopes soared. All it said was, I'm still here. I called her and offered to take her shopping. I told her I needed to redecorate and wanted her expert artistic advice. I thought an outlet for that stagnant creative energy of hers would set a part of her free. She agreed, thought it sounded like fun. She sounded excited to see me and pick out a color scheme. When I picked her up, she immediately apologized. So sorry for being so gone, sis. I've had this horrible case of nostalgia. It's like a flu. I feel so heavy. It's okay, I comforted her. I vowed to myself to help her through this. I felt like an idiot. She was probably depressed. I regretted not doing more to help her earlier. Let's have some sister time again. Her face brightened. I've missed you so. Those times we spend having tea and playing Parcheesi, they seem so long ago. Only a couple weeks, Nora. We've had worse fights. I know we're going to be just fine. Just a couple weeks? God. She stared out the window, and I could feel that depressed fog dropping over her again. It seems so long ago, she repeated. I turned on the radio and sped to the store. Please, please, Nora, cheer up. We zipped into the store, and the sight of home decor seemed to brighten her up again, as if her previous mood had never happened at all. We tossed things into the cart, and we were having a great time picking out wall art and fairy lights and throw pillows and such pretty things until we got to the candle aisle. They say that scent is the strongest tie to memory. Nora picked up a candle and was instantly transported out of my reach. That same nostalgic look took over her face, and she strode towards me, candle held out in her hand, as if possessed by a daydream. This smells like Dad's old cologne. I smelled the candle warily. It was close enough. Yes, it does. Out another candle. The daycare we used to go to. She was right on this one. Yeah, they probably used a similar scent. Another. She smelled and looked at me gleefully. The night of my first kiss. It was a simple lavender candle. I wouldn't know what that smells like. No, you wouldn't. But I do. It was just like this. She lilted. And this? first college dorm. This smells like the restaurant I went to in New York I really liked but never got to return to. This is Auntie May's church, the farm we used to visit, and Christmas with our family. No longer pausing to have me join, Nora sampled candle after candle, rampaging further and further down the aisle until she had tied each and every one of them to a precious memory. Hoping to calm her frenzy, I took off after her. The calm joys of sister time were forgotten. By the time I reached her, a horrific expression of fear and sorrow sat upon her face. As if possessed, she howled. Every little thing I see or hear or smell reminds me of a time long past. I can't take it anymore, Lindsay. I'm absolutely overcome with nostalgia. She collapsed on the floor in tears of desperate longing. I left our decorations behind and managed to get Nora into the car. By the time I got her home and made us tea, she had stopped crying and was in that familiar daze, but she no longer seemed distressed. How are you feeling, Nora? She broke out of her trance and looked at me. Oh, I'm fine, dear sister, she reassured me with a pat on the hand. Just tired. So tired. I am fine. After we had our tea, she went to bed, so I went home, not knowing that that was the last time I would ever see her face to face. I called her the next day. I had the number of a therapist a friend recommended to me. I was going to give it to her, but it was too late. I let myself into her apartment with my spare key. The only thing out of place was a note left on the table. Dear sister, I am sorry, but I assure you, I am much happier now. You see, the cause of my sorrow has been this writing project I've been working on secretly. I needed it to be just right before I showed anyone, and you would have been the first to see it. I am so sorry if you came across it. It is far from perfect. I tried so hard to get everything just right, but I couldn't do it. I failed. I'm a disappointment. I've found something much better to serve as my escape. It's what I've been looking for all this time. Love, Nora. I dreaded finding her body, but Nora herself was nowhere to be found. I went into her bedroom and found a mess of papers strewn all over her writing desk. It appeared that she had been writing stories about our childhood, our first day at the carnival, the day we went frog catching, things like that. Almost every page had a note written in red pen in the margins. Did we go on the carousel or teacups first? Did the bullfrog or the leopard frog escape us? And on the story about gardening with our mother, was this the time that Lindsay got stung by a wasp? This must have been Nora's writing project. Indeed, I looked up to see a sticky note on the wall that read, "Make it perfect." My sister Nora had the best imagination and the least tolerance for error. Her stories were such a beautiful escape for her, yet her inability to measure up to her own unforgiving standards was her personal hell. In her stories, I saw these parts of her clash as she sought to give the perfect retelling of her childhood. I took a few deep breaths and realized her purse, her phone, her toothbrush, everything she would have taken if she had gone on a trip were still here, including her car keys. And on Nora's bed was the family photo album, open to the family portrait. Our parents, grandparents, cousins, aunts, uncles, myself, and Nora, all lined up and posing for the camera. I remember that day the photo was taken. Our grandmother had bribed Nora, telling her that if she stood and smiled nicely at the camera, she could get a cookie before supper. And she did. She looked at the camera and got her cookie. Yet, at the end of the front row stood Nora, little 6-year-old Nora, looking up at the family with such love and pride, her face beaming. Nothing like how I remembered her appearing in the picture. I looked at more pictures. She was in every single one of them. Us carefully watching Grandma make some tea, hugging our parents at graduation, holding our newborn baby cousin. In every one of them, Nora looked different than she had then. Her face still held that nostalgic look, as if she was looking back on these memories, not actually living them. I closed the album and went back to my favorite photo of us on her wall. We were 12 and 9 years old, holding hands and spinning around in the yard. I remember our mother being particularly amused with us that day. We hadn't fought one bit. We were simply enjoying ourselves. Nora looked at me, those childlike eyes of hers holding wisdom beyond her 9 years. She looked so happy to see me, yet so sad at the same time. It was as if she were trying to warn me that the happiness was not to last. Yet all we could do in that moment was spin around in circles. We were children, and we were happy. As much as I hope Nora found what she so desperately wanted, I can't help but feel she was out of place. At the same time, I understand. I miss Nora. I just want my sister back. I wish things were like they used to be. Hi, my little calaveras. If you made it to the end of this video, thank you so much. I truly appreciate you being here. If you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, share, all the good things. So this story, I can't remember what it reminds me of. It might be Twilight Zone, Goosebumps, or Are You Afraid of the Dark? One of those. If you know what I'm talking about, go ahead and comment in the comments down below because I'm very curious because it has a similar feel. Or maybe I'm just being nostalgic. Okay, yeah, no, that was... sorry. But yeah, as always, my socials are linked in the description, so if you want to follow me on Instagram, or if you have a story that you want to send, you can always email it. I also have my Reddit linked. If you want to either read my story or even submit a story, you can submit it to my subreddit. But I am rambling, so I'm going to go. But before I go, remember, my little calaveras, don't let anyone or anything steal your light. Check under your bed at night. And until next time, bye.